My 17-year-old daughter cooked for 23 people for 3 days for my mom's birthday party. Hello, my name is Ethan. I'm a 32-year-old from Chicago, Illinois. For years, I truly believed that family gatherings were synonymous with warmth and acceptance. The text message arrived as my daughter was meticulously placing candles on a cake she had baked from scratch. We've decided to celebrate at a restaurant. It's adults only, Dad. She had dedicated 3 whole days to cooking 22 distinct dishes. Marinated, chopped, baked, decorated. She had poured her entire heart into every single creation. And with one message, they had completely erased her. Erased us. I looked at her, standing in the kitchen, her hands still dusted with flour, her face radiating with hope. She asked, "Should I start plating?" I smiled, my voice steady. Not yet. I didn't erupt in anger. I didn't drive to the restaurant to create a scene. I simply took decisive action. 15 hours later, their front door began to shake. Family gatherings used to signify warmth. At least that's how I remembered them. My mother was sharp, elegant, and perpetually demanding. My father was controlling, cold, a man who communicated more through dictates than affection. I was the compliant son, the one who always went along to maintain peace. But my daughter, she was different. At 18, she possessed a fire in her eyes and a kindness that could disarm anyone. She loved to cook, not out of obligation, but because it made her feel connected to the people she cherished. She believed my parents would taste her food and finally recognize her worth. Instead, they discarded her before the first bite. It wasn't an isolated incident. There were the whispered criticisms at Christmas regarding her demeanor, the Easter dinner where they excluded us entirely, the disdainful glances whenever she voiced her opinions. But this was different. This was cruelty honed to a precise point. To dismiss her 3 days of effort with a simple text, to deem her unworthy, not with words, but with profound silence. That was the moment I realized they weren't just excluding me anymore. They were targeting her, and that I could not forgive. I could have argued. I could have pleaded for a place for her at their table, but why would I? Their table was poisoned. Their celebration was meaningless. What mattered wasn't trying to fit into their world, but showing them what it felt like to be cut out of one. So, I planned quietly and calmly. Every ounce of pain they inflicted upon her became my motivation. Every insult became a strategy. If they wanted a party without us, I would ensure it was a night they would never forget. Step 1. The food. I carefully packed every dish my daughter had made, lovingly labeled each one, sealed them, and set them aside. Step 2. The invitations. I contacted the cousins, the neighbors, the very people my parents were attempting to impress at the restaurant. I didn't beg them to stay away. I offered them a superior alternative. There's food already waiting, I told them. It's homemade, and there's plenty for everyone. Come on over to my place. Step 3. Timing. I sent the group message 15 minutes before their reservation. While my parents arrived in their finest attire, expecting applause, their guests' phones began to buzz. One by one, the guests turned and departed. Where did they go? To my house? To my daughter's table? The meal she had prepared became the centerpiece. The laughter that filled our home was the kind my parents had tried to deny us. And while the restaurant sat half empty, my daughter, my 18-year-old girl, was surrounded by people who truly saw her. But I wasn't finished. While my mother stewed in embarrassment and my father clenched his fists in shame, I knew their pride wasn't their only vulnerability. The real damage was financial. The restaurant required a substantial, non-refundable deposit charged to Dad's credit card. So, when the staff brought out trays of food for all the empty seats, their humiliation was compounded with every wasted dollar. And then the calls began. First from my sister, then from Dad, demanding and furious. I let them ring until they stopped. When I finally answered, Dad's voice was shaking with rage. What the hell did you do? I kept my voice calm. I gave her the birthday party she deserved. The one you stole. He swore at me. I didn't flinch. You wanted an adults-only night, I said quietly. Now you have won all alone. And I hung up. 15 hours later, their door rattled. Not from joy, not from family, but from debt collectors and angry vendors demanding payment. The shame spread faster than wildfire. The story of the disastrous birthday dinner became country, club gossip and whispers at church. My parents, so focused on appearances, were completely exposed. Their kingdom of pride crumbled, and my daughter stood taller than ever. That night she looked at me and said, "They didn't want me there." I held her hand firmly. "They didn't deserve you there. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a son begging for a seat at their table. I felt like a man who had built his own. They tried to erase her efforts with a text. I erased their perfect image with my silence. And as I watched her smile, surrounded by the family we had chosen, one clear truth stood out. They tried to make her invisible. Instead, I made them irrelevant. What lesson did you learn from this story? Please let me know in the comments.